Michael Servo is Megan Coppersmith Servo and Brandon Servo's first child. Born in September of 2015, he is also one of the first babies to benefit from the City of Seattle's 4-week paid parental leave policy, which was signed into effect in April of the same year. Up until then, there was no policy.
When I got pregnant, I was a little bit, ill-informed. I just assumed that we got a paid parental leave working for the city because our benefits are so great. After talking to HR and some of my friends, I learned that that was definitely not the case.
New parents had to use vacation, sick, and unpaid leave to cover their time away from work.
My husband's a student. He's back at UW, and so we're essentially a single income family. And if I'm not working, then we have a house. We have now an extra mouth to feed. And so it was important to me to have as much of that income coming in as we could. And so with that extra 4 weeks, it definitely gave us peace of mind. And it'll allow me to be able to spend more time in such an important time in my child's life.
The United States is the only industrialized nation in the world that does not have a paid parental leave policy, and Seattle is the first municipality in our region to have it. Much credit can be given to outgoing councilmember Jean Godden, who added gender pay equity to her existing council committee after a surprising find in 2013.
We found out that there was the largest gap between women's pay and men's pay in this area, 73 cents on the dollar.
A longtime newspaper journalist before her 12-year career as a Seattle City Council member, Godden experienced pay inequity firsthand.
Years ago, when I was a columnist at the Seattle PI, I happened to look at the salary records, and I found out that of the 6 columnists, 5 were men, and then there was me, and I was paid the least, and probably produced the most because I did 4 columns a week in those days.
Paid parental leave, which is also available to fathers and to care for newly adopted and foster children, contributes to pay equity as it has been shown to protect women's wages and keep them in the workforce after giving birth, as well as equalizing parental involvement in childcare and easing taking periods of time without pay.
I heard over the years from a number of women who did take that unpaid leave and actually went into debt. So I worked very hard to find out what we could do to provide paid parental leave.
With this new policy, we are honoring that long Seattle tradition of standing up for progressive values that protect workers and support their families.
I'm thrilled by this new benefit and what it will mean for our employees, for their families, and for the community as a whole.
Paid parental leave is just one part of gender pay equity, and there is a lot of work to do as the city moves forward. Nonprofit partner the Women's Funding Alliance released a report in early 2015 which showed some revealing statistics regarding women in political representation, economic opportunity and rate of women in poverty, and the gender wage gap.
So we could look at the impact of the gender wage gap on poverty. We could think about how women's political engagement might impact their economic opportunities in Washington state. And so taking a more holistic approach about looking at women's lives and not just talking about only one issue. We also saw that the difference between women with a BA and women with less than a high school education is another 60 cents on the dollar wage gap. So again, as we think about education as a factor of class and we think about race and ethnicity, we have huge gaps among women that we need to figure out how to close.
The Alliance has partnered with the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce in a gender equity initiative that presents 31 best practice solutions.
And it's going to take a lot of effort across all 3 sectors among businesses, elected officials, nonprofit leaders, community leaders at large to really come together and fix this.
As Godden finishes up her time as council member, she still wants to do more. Paid parental leave is a piece of a puzzle that fits into a larger picture of gender pay equity. She looked at the City of Seattle's various departments and where there were gaps in gender equity in careers.
And then we also decided that it was important to recruit more women. And we also have one that helps women mentor women so that they can qualify for better jobs.
Godden has also thought about how to support families as they grow up.
It isn't only just that you have a family, but that you want to care for that family. And I think that affordable child care is very, very important.
In Seattle and surrounding areas, a year of daycare rivals the cost of a year of college. And even at those prices, it's often difficult to find a spot.
We got on the UW waiting list a couple years ago, just on a whim, because we heard it was a long time and Brandon was there. And we just heard back, so it was a 2-year wait.
4-year-olds don't take out loans to go to preschool. They don't subsidize it by getting a part-time job, right? Parents are just expected to figure out how to pay for that, and it's a sticker shock.
Inside the city, we really have only had 2 affordable child care facilities that have been built under our incentive program, and we want to make it easier for people to do that.
The City of Seattle is making strides in shrinking the gender pay equity gap, something that the region as a whole seems to be moving towards.
I don't know if it's the City of Seattle's doing, but certainly it seems like it's the new wave in the economy, to really find that leave for new parents. Amazon just announced 20 weeks. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation just announced a full year for new parents. And so I don't know if the work that the city did helped inspire that work, or if it was just kind of time. I feel very proud of my employer for taking that step and allowing those 4 weeks for new parents to bond with their kids and experience life as a new parent and as a new person in the world.
Watch CityStream Thursday nights at 7 on the Seattle Channel, or get video on demand and podcast anytime at seattlechannel.org.